DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse, is the one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between, for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW has what you need, but more importantly, they have what you didn't even know you wanted. You never know what you'll find at DSW. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or dsw.com.
Because for me to connect my mind and my heart, that is where the true healing happens. That is where you really get it. If you can get quiet enough to pay attention, they will call you home. Do they speak to you? Because they speak to me too. The they is that intuition, is that inner voice that has known you. Every single body you have ever inhabited on this earth, that's your soul. That's your spirit. You're listening to Make Some Noise podcast, episode number 713.
Welcome to Make Some Noise podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you are here. Today is Saturday, January 23rd, as I am recording this to you. It's in the late afternoon, and I am in central North Carolina. If you didn't know where I live in the world right now, I'm in the eye of a very bad storm that's on its way. We've been told that we're getting a lot of ice, which is the worst. And I might lose power for a few days. So I'm trying to get this podcast recorded out to you. And also letting you know that last Saturday, I got back from Costa Rica again, went and sat with the medicine, drank ayahuasca. It was my second time sitting with the medicine, and it was even more life-changing from a healing standpoint than it was the first time. I was lucky enough to be able to bring my love, Dr. Fox, also known as David, and it was life-changing for him as well. It was the first time he had ever sat with the medicine, and he is now a changed person for the better. And so on that note, I know I've talked about bringing a group to Costa Rica to visit Rythmia this year, and I still plan on doing that. It's going to look a little bit different than I had originally planned it to be. So if you are interested in coming, I am working on planning something either this summer or this fall, 2026. So shoot me a DM or send us an email, and we will put you on a list of people that will be notified when I am planning that so you don't miss it. And so this episode is a solo episode. I do this every other week, as you know, and I wanted to just kind of shoot from the heart, if you will. I don't have any notes. I just have some thoughts. And so please forgive if it's a little messy and unorganized, but sometimes so is my brain. So you are getting that side of me. And it kind of starts with the gift that I gave Dr. Fox for his birthday. And what I got him was a journal. I found this really cool journal at a bookstore, and it was what I wanted. It had completely blank pages, and it had a lot of them. And here's what I did with it. So since about 3 weeks into my relationship with him, I started writing him love letters and love poems. And this is something I have never done for a significant other. I think maybe I did with my high school boyfriend, which is the last time I have had a love like this. And I haven't since then. Obviously, I'm a writer. I write a lot. But if I'm writing just for myself, it's usually poetry about grief and love and things like that. But very rarely, if ever, do I write someone love letters like I have to him. And they've all been on my phone in the notes app. And when I would write one, I've written probably 30, maybe, a lot. And I would send them to him. And sometimes it was in the middle of the night, so he would wake up to them. And he is always so gracious and just sort of knocked over by the generosity and the love that I have given him. And what I wanted to do for his birthday is I wanted them handwritten. And he actually said to me, he's like, "Oh, you wanted an analog love in a digital world." And I laughed and said, yes. And so I went and got this journal and I got all of these love letters, and I had a lot of pictures of us printed out, and I started writing these letters. And then I was on like the second one, and I said out loud, I was actually sitting at my desk, the same desk I sit when I record these podcasts. And I said, "Oh, Andrea, you have made a grave mistake," because the amount of words I was going to have to write was going to take me many, many hours. And so we had a good laugh about it. I wasn't actually even able to finish it. I had to give it to him half done. Yesterday was his birthday. And it just got me thinking about what it is also that I'm searching for, what it is that I'm looking for. He's right. I wanted the kind of love that we had in the 90s when we didn't have access to anything digital to be able to exchange these moments of connection, when we had the written word. And it made me think, like, this is what I'm searching for in my whole life. I mean, this is what the whole Coming Home to Yourself series was around my birthday last year in April, when I recorded that 10-part series for all of you. And honestly, like, sitting with plant medicine also is one of those places where we go, and usually, I think for many people during the journey, it's a remembering. It's a remembering, where we came from. It's a remembering, sort of like that expression, you got to dance with the one who brought you. That's what it is. And so it's just got me thinking about authenticity and coming home to ourselves and wholeness. And how do we get there? And we get there, I have found in my experience, by paying attention. If you really know me, you know that I am an enormous fan of Florence and the Machine. Florence Welch, she's an artist, a musician from the UK, and she just released her 6th album. Her music has been paramount to my own personal growth journey. I think many of you can relate to having an artist, or maybe many of them, where their lyrics and their music specifically speak to you, and it moves you, and it helps you understand things in your life, however you interpret. Sometimes lyrics are really up for interpretation. And Florence's music has moved me really since I really started to dig in after her first album. And in 2011, when I got sober, Dog Days Are Over was the first song I blasted in my Volvo back then. And ever since then, every single album that she has come out with has moved me and helped me grow in some way. And just, if nothing else, allowed me to relate to what it's like to be a human. And I could sit here and record this podcast and tell you dozens of songs and recite the lyrics and tell you what they mean to me. But today I'm going to there's just one. And it's from a song called Choreomania, which actually was a thing many years ago. It's like an illness, apparently. And this is like from the olden days. It was an illness where people would literally dance themselves to death. They would kind of go into this sort of like ecstatic dance. And it was called Choreomania. And there's a line in there, and she says, "Do they speak to you? Because they speak to me too." And I would listen to her music. I listen to it all the time. And one day, I don't remember when, I heard that line and I thought, oh, she's talking about her angels. She's talking about her guides. She's talking about her ancestors, because these are precisely the entities, the people, the beings, the energy that I call out to when I am trying to call myself home, when I'm trying to get to a place of wholeness, when I sit down to do a ritual or a ceremony, or what some might call pray. They speak to me. And it was actually a song. There were several songs that came to me when I was sitting with the medicine last week. And the rest of that lyric is, "Do they speak to you because they speak to me too? The pressure and the panic you push your body through." And that is ayahuasca. I don't know. if she has ever sat with the medicine. But in her newest album, there's a song called Drink Deep, which, I mean, if you read the lyrics, I'm like, oh, girl, you sat with the medicine. But I wanted to kind of touch on, again, what it means to come home to yourself and to feel called home. What does that mean? Well, part of it means that we come home to what we hear and what we say in personal development circles, our most authentic self. At least that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about your most authentic self. And what I have come to know now that I'm almost 51 years old and I have been on my own personal growth journey for many, many, many years now, is that we will go through phases of this where we will get closer and closer to our most authentic self as we go through our own journey, as we get closer and closer, and as we begin to heal. And that is really why we're here. I think that perhaps for many of us or all of us, that is our real purpose here on earth. I've talked about, what if your purpose is just your path? What if your purpose is just this path that you're on, this personal growth journey that you're on? I met a woman when I was in Costa Rica at Rythmia, and I sat next to her before ceremony and we got to talking. We talked for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And she was telling me that she'd signed up for all these retreats and she goes several times a year to do ayahuasca and ibogaine and psilocybin. She's doing all of this plant medicine. Sorry, that was my dryer in the background if you heard that. But I asked her and I said, what is it that you're searching for? What are you looking for? You're spending all this money and traveling the world and going to places where drinking things that are making you throw up. Like, what are you looking for? And she said, she paused for a second and she thought about it. She said, I'm looking for my purpose. And for what it's worth, I don't know if this is the answer for everyone. I want to offer that here is the thing that plant medicine specifically has shown me, and that is healing. And I've talked to you guys a lot about how so much of my work, actually, pretty much all 4 of my books are cognitive. It's practical things. It's things that we think about, things that we can talk about, like giving you language for certain things, giving you frameworks for certain things. And all of that is great. I am not taking back a single thing that I wrote or said or taught. And I also want to add on to that so much of our journey has to involve the somatic, the body, because that is where our heart is. And that is really where the connection can be made so that we can truly, fully, 100% come home to ourselves, so that we can heal, so that we can become our most authentic self. And I will tell you something else. There will always be some kind of guide, some kind of angel, some kind of ancestor, or if you want to call it God or the universe or spirit, that is wanting to help you, that is wanting to guide you on this journey home. So I want to say this one last thing about that, and then I'm going to shift gears, but I'm kind of not really shifting gears for the last part of this podcast episode, is that, as you probably know, I made the decision in January of 2023. So it's now been 3 years when I made the decision to leave my marriage. And it took me a minute to get everything together to actually physically leave that home. And, I've been here at this other house for almost 2 years. And what I didn't realize then was that the voice that was telling me it was time to move on from that marriage, and it had been telling me for a while, and I had been ignoring it for valid reasons, and I'll probably talk about that some other time. But that was the same voice that I hear during plant medicine. It's the same voice that allows me to connect my body and my brain. And it allows me to feel safe and protected while doing so. Because I'll tell you what, for somebody who is a high achiever, someone who really struggles with letting go and surrendering and really wants to hang on to control, staying in my head and only focusing on cognitive lessons and cognitive learning, like practical things, is a way for me to stay safe. It's a way for all of us to stay safe. Because for me to connect my mind and my heart, that is where the true healing happens. That is where you really get it. And if you can pay attention, if you can get quiet enough to pay attention, they will call you home. Do they speak to you? Because they speak to me too. The they is that intuition, is that inner voice that has known you every single body you have ever inhabited on this earth. That's your soul. That's your spirit. And I'm going to use this as a bit of a precursor, if you will, or a preview of where my work is going. And I've been called to do more heart-centered work, to do more work that centers around spirituality, because I will also tell you this, by the time I listened to that voice in early 2023, it was a spiritual emergency. It was an absolute spiritual emergency. Have you ever heard the term spiritually bankrupt? I had heard it, but never really understood it, and also thought, I will never get there. I am someone who's on a personal development journey. Shit, I do this for a living. That's not for me. Guess what? I found myself in that place in early 2023. I didn't know I was there until many, many months later. And I realized that I was also in a massive life transition that I have been in over the last several years, honestly, since the beginning of COVID. And so, as I always do, as I have done since 2007, when I started coaching women, and in 2010, when I officially launched yourkickasslife.com, which was my previous URL, I am going to take you on that journey. And what that looks like is I'm going to go more in depth and tell you what the last 5 years have brought me as I have started to pay a little bit more attention to them speaking to me. I just needed to get at least almost all the way to the other side in order for me to look back in retrospect and be able to share the lessons that I have learned along the last about 5 years now. We need to take a quick ad break. When we come back, I'm going to kind of shift gears, but not really. Be right back.
Close your eyes. Listen to Monday.com. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform. So flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally breathe.
This episode is brought to you by FX's The Beauty Official Podcast. Join host Evan Ross Katz on the official podcast for FX's hottest new series, The Beauty, taking you behind the scenes with its amazing stars as they discuss the show's most jaw-dropping moments. Featuring Evan Peters, Anthony Ramos, Jeremy Pope, Ashton Kutcher, Rebecca Hall, Bella Hadid, Meghan Trainor, Isabella Rossellini, Jessica Alexander, and Ari Grainer. Search FX's The Beauty wherever you listen to podcasts.
Kaylee Cuoco and Sam Claflin star in the MGM Plus original series, Vanished. When the man Alice loves disappears on a train to the south of France, every romantic memory becomes evidence. Every intimate detail, a potential threat. She thought she knew everything about him, but she may not even know his real name. 4-part thriller Vanished premieres February 1st on MGM Plus. Finding the truth is a dangerous affair.
Okay, we're back. And to close up, I want to talk briefly about what is happening in the United States right now and what that has to do with me and what that has to do with this podcast. So speaking of paying attention, it was around 2015, before Donald Trump's first term, I started talking about what one would classify as political things. I started talking about racism and things like that. And, I absolutely did get some pushback, especially on social media. And here's what I want to say about that. And I still continue, anytime I talk about it, continue to get pushback and, people unfollow me or whatever. And it's always very interesting to me because, and I get it, some people specifically come to someone like me for the personal empowerment, for the women's empowerment. And so I get it on that front. But here's where I want to make the connection. And this is a connection that I made back in 2015. And it was really when I was talking about my recovery. If you don't know, I got sober from alcohol in 2011. And in 2015, I was a handful of years into my sobriety and recovery. And it dawned on me that if I am talking about women's recovery and, women getting sober, then I'm talking about women's empowerment, right? And that's the theme of what I do, of what I teach. It's women's empowerment. But if I'm talking about women's empowerment, then that means I'm talking about feminism, right? If you liked How to Stop Feeling Like Shit, all of those behaviors that I talk about in that book, the things that women do the most, like people pleasing, perfectionism, control, isolating, overachieving, all of those things are things that we do because of the culture and society that we were raised in, right? And honestly, that was the impetus for the book that came after that, Make Some Noise. That book was all about unlearning those things, these sort of like cultural beliefs and even stereotypes that have been handed to us for people who identify as women who were raised as girls. So if I'm writing books about how women can overcome those things, I am a feminist. I am talking about feminism. And if we're talking about feminism, then we are talking about patriarchy, the system that upholds people of power and the system that women fight against, right? And not just women. Patriarchy holds everyone down. And I'm not going to get into it now, but just trust me on that, okay? And if we're talking about patriarchy, we're also talking about things like capitalism. We're talking about white supremacy. We're talking about white nationalism, Christian nationalism. We're talking about colonialism. We're talking about these systems of power that keep women down, that keep marginalized communities down. And so the bottom line is something that you have heard so many times, that everything is political. Women's empowerment is political. Personal power, personal development, personal growth is political. And women and people of color and poor people and everyone in a marginalized community has been pushing against these systems for decades and decades and decades. And what we are seeing right now is the other side pushing back. What is happening with ICE in Minneapolis is their side pushing back. And when I say their side, I mean our government. I mean Donald Trump and his goons. I mean the billionaires. I was on Instagram paying attention, and I saw that ICE has an Instagram account. They were tagged in someone's post that I was watching, and I went to that account. I made a grave mistake and went to that account and looked at some of the people's comments who were supporting ICE, and one of them was a man saying that, thank you for this, and the Democrats are trying to. These are the Democrats are trying to protect. And the post was of someone that ICE had arrested and, talking about how he was a criminal and he was wanted for this, that, and the other in some other country, and they were deporting him. And it just made me think, reading that man's comment, it made me think about power and personal empowerment and how at the end of the day, that's what we all want, right? Because when you have power, you have safety, and we all want safety. Every single person here, your nervous system is always scanning for safety. And you know me, I am obsessed with getting to the root of the problem. Like, I want to know what's underneath. What are people actually after? And the thing is, in my opinion, everybody just wants safety, and we want power. And so how do we get it? I think that for a lot, especially of white women, we at an early age understand that our proximity to power will keep us safe. Proximity to power, that means white men at the top are the ones who are going to protect us. They are the ones who are going to keep us safe. So oftentimes we choose our whiteness over our gender. And I also think as Americans that we have been lied to. We were told that as long as we hold close to patriotism, as long as we are loyal to our country, that we will be protected. And the truth is that we're not. We've been watching our rights be stripped away from us. We've been watching our Constitution be shredded. And it is also my opinion that the people in power right now in our country do not care about me. They don't really care about you. They care about money and power. And that is what they're trying to accomplish. That's what they're trying to get more of through the actions that they're taking with ICE and so many other things that are happening right now in our country. And I wish I could say that I had an absolute solution. And the only thing I think I want to end with is that my hope is that you can hear this and maybe have a new way to talk to people in your life about it, or maybe, learn new things and make some new connections. And I am definitely not an expert on this. I am a women's empowerment expert, but I also know that none of us are free until we're all free. None of us are protected until we're all protected. None of us are safe until we are all safe, not just the people at the top. So I want to end with thanking you for your time today. I know how valuable your time is, and I always appreciate that you spend it with me. And I also want to say, fuck ICE. And I also want to say, remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now.
Hey, did you know there's free secret podcast episodes waiting for you that are not part of my regular podcast feed? Yes, AndreaOwen.com/free. And you just sign up. You get a link sent to you. It's very secret. It's like a secret club. We don't have a secret handshake. Don't worry about that. But it's these motivating podcast episodes that I made for you. They're under 20 minutes each. There's 3 of them. They're for wherever you are in your life. So head on over there and grab them. They range from really supporting you and seeing you where you are and being compassionate, all the way to giving you a giant kick in your ass and telling you how amazing and gorgeous and phenomenal you are. So AndreaOwen.com/free and get your hands on that free podcast feed.
This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com helping people worldwide getting work done faster and better. The same Monday.com designed for every team and every industry. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com that your team will actually love using. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free. Yes, the same Monday.com.